Welcome to Memoirs of a Fitness Trainer podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Tullis, joined by Tyler Johnson. Say hello to the people there, Tyler.
He has a knife.
That I do. I do have a knife because I have ADD and I cannot stop fidgeting with my hands.
Oh,
And
welcome everybody to the show.
welcome on in. Do you feel safer? If you don't, you should talk to somebody because, yeah, that's concerning. Anyway, so knife aside, moving on. Today, we're talking about, as a personal trainer, how do you navigate keeping up with your clients and taking time off? And this is something that in the training industry is a very hard thing to do, to walk away and kind of trust that, hey, what I've taught my clients works. And today we're going to be talking about strategies with that, kind of discussing the topic a little bit and going down from there. But Tyler, when I say taking time off as a trainer and kind of getting your clients in order, where's your mind go? Like, where's your heart?
Three different things come to mind. Number one, time off in the sense that you're going on a trip. Time off of in the sense of an emergency, whether it be for your family, for yourself, some type of injury that maybe you've gone through, or that you're dealing with a family emergency, somebody's death or something in the family. And number three is illness, is either your client's illness or your illness, is that's kind of like a unscheduled time off that
Yeah.
erupts in the moment that you're having to deal with, and that sets you back in your cycle or in their cycle. Those are the top three that come to mind.
Okay. I like what you put there, the things that kind of go outside of it. Because I was more just thinking like, hey, taking time off voluntarily. Like, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go to this country, or hey, I'm gonna go to this festival and this place. I'm gonna be gone for a week. That's true because there's a lot of things that take us out of our sphere of working with clients that are completely out of our control. Which I've been
Right.
hurt. We've all kind of dealt with having to go take care of family and things of that nature. That's cool. But how do you deal with, let's say the voluntary? Let's just stick with that because being sick, there's nothing really you can do except just give your clients like a piece and be like, hey, I hope you're good. I don't know what else to tell you. But it's like blunt as that is, it's like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm puking for a few days. Like I don't can't. Yeah, I hope you know what to do. Like I hope I've done my job well. Sorry.
You're not getting charged for this time.
Yeah.
But please use the knowledge that I've given you and move on with that.
Yeah, it's pretty much all you can do when you're sick is just like, oh God, I hope I've done everything correctly up until this point. We'll find out when I'm better. You can text me, I guess.
Yeah. All right. So for the voluntary stuff, let's go through the checklist that I've kind of like I've now maintained with the clients that I have currently, right? So coming up on the trip, you and we're gonna be heading out to Mardi Gras. Woo, woo, woo. Next week. So I'm gone for 5 days. And during that time period was three of my primary days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So all those clients that I have, which is roughly about, you know, 60%, 70% of my clientele that I meet with either once or twice a week, I'm not going to see them during those days. And to just let them know, let's say like worst occasion, like let them know the week of, like, oh, by the way, I'm gone this week. There is, God, a higher chance that they just won't go to the gym than than I mean, I would put money on it. If somebody's like, "Hey, what are the odds?" I'm like, "Well, they're pretty high. I'm gonna go 90 to 1 that they don't show up because they're just like, well, he's gone, I'm not going." But so I plan it. One, I usually know when I'm traveling at this point months in advance. So the month prior, I lay out their month spreadsheet. So actually, I made print-ups of all the sheets, and for each one of my clients at the end of the second to the end of the week of January, I had them take these sheets home and fill out their month for February and say, and on it, I had the dates that I was gone. So that way they would fill out their training. And it's kind of like another project too, to continue like the New Year's resolution goals that we had set up was kind of like, hey, these are the goals. We're on this timeline, and I want to make sure we continue through to March. So write out your goals that you've had, Mark the days you're going to make it. And during this time period, recognize that I'll be gone. So that's number one, is to put it in their head and reminding them each session, just at the end of it, just quickly, just like, oh, by the way, just so you remember, I'm gone this week. We're on for next week. I'm gone the next week.
Okay, so we're reminding them about it. We're letting them know with plenty of time ahead of it. And then
Yep.
are you giving them resources, or like what's that kind of part look like? Or you're probably about to get to
So
it.
yeah. So that's second part, right? Because I don't want to plan or put too much in their head as far as like what they're doing. My in-person clients, I'm
Smart.
all in person. So I don't want to put too much in their head they're starting to work off of, or give them a workout that then they're going to look at, then they're going to ask questions about it during the session time leading up to that, taking away from what have already programmed for them in those hours. So I wait until the second to last time we meet and I say, hey, these are the workout that we're going to review on our next session. That's going to be one of the workouts you'll do while I'm gone. I'm going to give you a basic template of other exercises. I know what you know how to do, and you're going to go to the gym. That's the second piece. The last part is on the next time I see them, I say to them, hey, to keep accountability, when you go to the gym and you do these exercises, I want you to take a photo of the window or a photo of the treadmill or like to each individual client their own, kind of like what their progress or what they're doing. I'm like, and all you need to do is send me that photo so I know that you've at least shown up. And that keeps them accountable.
I
Whether
like
they
it.
do it or not, I mean, it puts it in their head.
Okay.
So it's
I like that.
that's my steps.
Okay. So you give resources, you give pretty advanced notice, or as advanced notice as you can do, right? But you make sure not to overload them ahead of time to where you're giving them resources 3 weeks out. And it's like, all right, that person's either going to try to digest it now and start overloading themselves with other things we're currently working on, or they end up just like completely wasting all his time. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it, man. That's a thorough strategy. I appreciate that it is kind of a simple application. Like you're not trying to reinvent the entire wheel here, but you're definitely covering every step. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything that you see like in that process that maybe you'd add on or something that you kind of make an adjustment to?
Um, for me, it sounds like we're not taking advantage of technology. And that's always kind of where I'm going to go back to is technology is the universal force multiplier. And
Right.
it's really easy to tell if someone's doing a workout if you're able to go ahead and open an app and go, hey, this person do their workout? Oh yeah, they did. How long that workout run? Oh, it ran 3 minutes. Yeah, that person's bullshitting me. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But like technology allows you to capitalize on really a lot of that we'll say adherence or accountability, especially when you're not there. So that would be the one thing I would say it sounds like we're maybe missing, but that's probably just a different approach to the same problem, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also a lot of all your clients are mostly online.
Yeah. It is a little
So
different in
yeah.
like my kind of world and like what my team does. We're everything that we do with people is, hey, we are not always in a centralized location. We are not always in the same time zone. And that's going to create some interesting things to where it might be that when you're up in the day to message me, it's, 2 in the morning where I am. So
Right.
it's this thing that we really take the time to kind of put at the beginning, like when someone's coming in as a client that, hey, we travel, like I'm gone. So you have to be aware of that, but it's completely different for like the online coaching sphere. Um,
That's
but for
outlining
in
the expectations. You're
Yeah,
outlining expectations prior, and that is in business aspect essential for training. That would be a whole different topic.
yeah, that's it's completely different, and like I'm a little hesitant to even though like this is my topic, right? It's still one
Yeah.
of these things that I'm very interested to hear about how other people kind of skin that cat, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, because in my world, everything is so integrated for that to be honest with you, I don't see a difference. like I have a couple like in-person clients that I still see that, yeah, they struggle hard when I'm gone. Like it's like I'll be gone for
Right.
2 weeks and I'm just accepting that person's not going to train for 2 weeks. And it's like, well, fuck. I'll see you when I get back, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I have a couple people that are my in-person people that I've loaded up onto Trainerize
yeah,
that they do have a couple workouts they do on their own already, and so I just have them just cycle through. So I've added
it's
a
perfect.
couple additional ones for some, but I mean, most of my clients they don't know technology.
It's tough, man.
My 88-year-old guy who's coming in, yeah, he's barely able to open his phone, so I
That's
don't
kind
think
of
he's following the app.
that is a like a cool topic that we'll eventually dive into, but the idea of when is it right to apply technology to the right client?
That's a fact.
Yeah, like I love technology, but if I have like an 82-year-old geriatric, like I'm not teaching that guy how to use an app. Could he learn?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But he doesn't want to. I don't want to spend the time to teach him. Let's find a lower tech, easier solution that's just going to make both of our jobs a lot easier.
Yeah.
But okay, I like that, man. I mean, are when you set those expectations when you are going to leave with your people, like, hey, you're going to work out, do these things. Do you ask them what's going to keep them most accountable, or do you just go, hey, I'm going to find a solution, which is take a picture of a window or, something in the gym that shows that we're there, I'm assuming. Is that kind of you pick for them or do they pick for you?
I picked that for them. Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like you're managing children. If you don't give them if you don't give them the idea to have them come up with it, they're either gonna forget or they're not gonna hold themselves accountable to do it. But if I'm like, like my one client who I meet with at 7 a.m., she always likes to look at the sunrise, so she likes to be over by the window and we do stuff on the mat. So I told her I was like, I better see at least two photos of the sunrise from this window when I'm gone. Because if I don't see those, I know you haven't made it over to this part of the gym, and that means that you didn't show up.
That's hilarious, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
tell me you're a trainer without telling me you're a trainer. I work with adults that I have to treat like children. Oh, you must be a personal trainer, huh?
Oh my God. Dude, I had a guy today. Oh my, I seriously, I swear to you not. Hey man, you want to take your shoulder and you're going to be foam rolling right here underneath the lat. Put your hand down, hinky side here, and let your neck rest over. He immediately gets on his shoulder blade, has his arm over here. He goes, I don't think I'm doing this right. I even slowed. I said it exactly like that, like looking him dead in the eye, and he just, I don't think I'm not feeling it. Like what?
I have a client who I see, I've been seeing for almost 4 months now, and this is either shows that I'm a terrible trainer or is an example of how just dense some people can be. It's one or the other.
Yeah,
You guys decide which. She has knee problems, and I've been trying to get her to stop just completely dropping into her squat. Like I'm talking like there's no resistance. She just goes
yeah.
ass to grass with all the force of gravity that a person could possibly do. Like she
Oh wow.
crumbles like a sack of potatoes down into her hip sockets. It's kind
Yeah.
of inspiring. Like holy shit, I didn't know someone could drop to the ground that quickly. But every time it's just slow it down. Yep, just like that. Keep doing it like that. All right, fuck, slow it down, even slower, just like that. And fuck, slow it down again. It's just some people, I just don't think they relate words to action, like how their body
Yeah.
works, right? I think a lot
Yeah.
of it just kind of comes to that. And like, we're so quick to let our own personal self-care be the thing that we
Yeah.
we put off. Like
Oh my God.
work gets hard. First thing you do is people stop taking care of themselves. Things
Yep.
get hectic at home. Stop taking care of themselves. It's like seems like the go-to reaction to any type of turmoil or challenge is just
Yep.
I'm just not going to take care of myself. I got to deal with this thing, which is like super ironic and counterproductive. But
Yeah.
promise we love our clients. It's just sometimes you got to treat them like children, you know? It is what it is.
It's really hard to make full eye contact. Watch somebody nod at you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I don't think I'm doing this right.
I'll make
And then
a
you gotta physically grab them and put them in position. And that's what I'm saying. It's like children. It's like putting them back in the high chair. It's like, no, just put your seatbelt on.
I tell every client this that I train in person is that
Yep.
I'm going to teach you how to move. And in teaching you how to move, you're going to get a lot of sympathy for teaching a 2-year-old to pour milk. It seems like when you teach a child to pour milk, it's like, have they never moved a day in their life? What are they doing? They're all over the place. That's going to be you for the next like 6 months. You have no idea how to
Wow.
move.
Okay. Yeah, that's brutal. That's
Dude,
brutal.
you
I
have
say
to be. You have to set that
this is
expectation of like, hey, you don't know how to move. And that's okay.
yeah,
You've not done anything athletic for 5, 10, 20, 40 years in some cases. So yeah, you're not going to have that same dynamic function as someone that, is 27 and played college baseball. Like you're not going to be as
yeah,
coordinated or be able to move fluidly like that person can.
yeah.
And that's like a child, unfortunately. Like it sounds demeaning and maybe we're being a little blunt with it, but that is kind of what it is.
You want to know the most odd question I ask any client before I start working with them?
What's up?
Are you okay with being touched?
Yeah, you gotta ask that these days.
Yeah, no, I do that. I verbalize it because I'm like, 'cause I'm a very physical client. And I'm gonna need to grab you at moments, and that's just gonna happen.
You're good, bud. Just keep on chatting.
Okay. I was like, did you lose service? Uh, yeah,
No.
but I do that because I've had people feel uncomfortable at times when they're just like they get into like the first like assessment stage and they don't really see that like okay this person's really getting close to me and having to grab me. So some people get uncomfortable. So I'm like, hey, are you okay with being touched? Because if not, I can set you up with another trainer. And when I make it that blunt, where it's just like, yes, then I kind of I break that boundary because I'm like, dude, I can't train you if I can't grab you. Like, there's gonna be a lot of times where I'm just gonna say, roll your shoulders down, and you're gonna have your shoulders up here. I'm gonna have to physically grab and put you in the position so you can actually feel where they're supposed to be.
That's probably a good practice, especially in the kind of more litigious age that we're in now, where people are hypersensitive to things
Oh
like
God,
that, and they're pretty ruthless about it. Like, someone catches you
yeah.
doing something, they'll blow it out of proportions very quickly. So that's very smart of you. And I'm going to
Yeah.
be very honest, it's not something I've done for a very long time. I usually include the fact that I will be touching someone in just like a new client orientation.
Yeah.
But I probably should kind of put it in there like, hey, just so you know, like when I say I'm going to be touching you, like I really do physically mean that I'm going to at times take your arm and put it in a position. I'm going to
So
push your
basically,
knee and go, hey, push it out. Like, come on, we've got things to do. I know it sounds very aggressive the way I'm saying it, but like,
I'm laughing because based off the conversation we had just right before this,
yeah.
we're touching children. Okay. Do not
Oh
caption
no.
that.
Is
They're
it,
adult
it
children.
oh
Yeah.
God.
How dare you? You touched an
Because now
adult
I'm just
child.
thinking of it. I'm touching someone with the mind of a child. Oh God. Those are comments you keep to yourself. Like I'm
I'm
never going to be
sorry.
unable to unhear that.
Yeah, I said it live here. Oh, this is great. Yeah,
Oh
put that in
no.
there. I hope somebody takes that and runs with it. This guy said
Oh
he
God.
touches children.
I can only hope. I can only hope.
Wow, your guys' podcast finally got up in numbers. How'd you do it? Well,
We got popular in a
nope.
community we didn't want to get popular in.
What was it? Angie's List?
Can you imagine that? Total sidebar, but can you imagine blowing up in like a community that you're like, I do not want to be famous here. Like,
This is not what I was looking
no,
for.
this was not where I was going. Like, oh
Yeah.
no.
I'll own it, but no,
Yeah,
no, I'm
yeah.
just kidding.
I mean, fame is fame, right? I mean, you got to take advantage of it where you get it. If it's, with communities you don't want to be a part of, that's a personal problem.
Yeah. So, all right, back to our topic, the idea of like, setting up your clients, making sure their success. Um, let's, I want to know because this is something I don't do and I haven't had to do because I don't manage anybody.
Mhm.
What about managing your team members when they're taking vacation time? How do you set up with their clients as a manager and owner?
Um, in today's day and age, with people being very against businesses and business owners putting on we'll say unnecessary or extreme expectations on their team, this is not going to sound very good. We
Yeah,
don't take vacations. We don't take time off. We are always there because we have such fluidity with our schedule and ability to travel and high compensation. Like we kind of have everything kind of covered. It's,
right.
hey, if you need to take a Wednesday, take a Wednesday. Just don't take calls. Don't worry about it. Like you don't have to ask me about it. Just adjust your schedule for it. You want to take a week off? Okay. Well, your clients are still going to message you. If you want, let me know and I can cover some of those questions and I can kind of get in the chat and make sure that, if they have like an obvious question that I can answer, I'll answer it. If not, then hey, this person's going to be back on in maybe 3 or 4 days. But we just don't really take time off. But we do kind of lean
Yeah.
on each other and allow for someone else to pick up the slack. Like I know I've done that before where I've been traveling for 2, 3 days and been completely unavailable. It's like, hey, I have these 3 or 4 people that are in a real sensitive stage. I'm just like checking in on them, make sure they're doing okay. Like little things like that. But yeah, we just don't really take time off. And that's an expectation I set very early on is you have complete freedom, but with complete freedom, you never really are off. Accept that now or don't work here.
With great power comes great responsibilities.
I mean, I was thinking about that. I feel like I'm like parroting like a Marvel movie or something.
Yeah.
That's funny. But I mean, it's what it is. It's, they make the vast majority of what a client pays us. Like I
Yeah.
do not make that much from individual clients that I'm not personally working with. Um, we lead gen everything. We supply the systems. We do everything. And we give you complete freedom to run your schedule your way, how you want to do it. If you want to load it up on 2 days out of your week and just work, and the rest
Yeah.
of the time you just want to piss off for it, more power to you. I encourage it. But
Yeah.
with that, you again are never really off. So it's a trade-off, but it's one that I think is worth it, and so do they. So we got that going for us.
So we've covered the ways to success. What is maybe a failure that you've done in the past with your traveling that you've come back and been like, man, I really botched that?
Not having enough resources available, parroting the words and how I teach. That was a big one. 2021, I went to Switzerland, which was like my first like big trip overseas, like 10 days.
I remember.
Um, but while I was over there, I had very little resources made. I had like a couple videos and like, sheets and things, but I didn't have like the same library I do now covering everything.
Yeah.
And that meant when anybody had a question for me, I was either going to be forced to sit down and answer it at length and either create or find a resource for that person to explain it. Because again, I'm still on the clock, right? Like I'm still working.
Yep.
Or I was going to give a half-ass answer because I'm in Switzerland and I don't really want to spend a bunch of time on my computer.
Yeah.
So I ran into that real hard that trip because my people weren't at a place where they were comfortable enough to be on their own for that long a period of time. And I just didn't have the infrastructure set up to support it. And that was, young business owner. You make some bad moves. But that
Yep.
was that was a pretty rough one for me. Lost
Yep.
quite a few clients in that like 10-day period of time. Actually, it was yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, coming back to that, it kind of sucks. I would say my biggest miss in the past came from not scheduling the
Mm,
return. That was
Oh
my huge
yeah.
thing. So when I talked about that calendar, the reason I did that was, I'm not seeing these people. When you miss a week of not seeing somebody, that means I technically didn't see them for like 10 days or more,
Oh yeah.
right? And checking in like via text or, seeing their picture kind of keeps them accountable, keeps us in touch, and it's easy for me to just quickly respond while I'm on vacation. Like, hey, nice photo, glad you got the workout in. I'll see you when I'm back. It kind of keeps that like one touch going. So I'm not, at least having that one touch in that 10-day period, it kind of closes the gap a bit. But, I've had trips in the past before where I've left and I left for like a week and I came back to not the same week that I had prior than I left because I didn't have all the clients scheduled in. I'm scraping sessions together. I'm trying to track down this person. I forgot about that person's session. They showed up at the same time as this person because I scheduled them over that person. Like it just creates chaos. So I'm like, dude, I need to make sure that when I come back, everybody's scheduled for at least the next 2 weeks on the return. It's an easy pace and ready to go.
Oh yeah. And make sure you have a
Yeah.
future set. Like you're talking about the vision and what's going to come after. Like what's our next training phase? Like, oh yeah, I'm really excited for this trip, but when I get back, you and I are doing X. Like we're going after this thing together, and you're building that excitement. Because
Yep.
sometimes just a client not seeing you for 10 days is enough for them to go, you know, maybe I don't need to work with this person. And that's more going toward more the business realm now and client retention. But it sometimes it doesn't take much for someone who was kind of on the fence already. Maybe they had a financial thing happen, or maybe they've reached their goals, or maybe they want to go another route, what
Yep.
have you. And just having that little bit of time away kind of weakens that personal connection you can have. But that's
Yep.
a good solution to that. Just having that constant communication, even if it's just one touch point while you're gone. A
Yep.
hey, thinking of you guys, and you send them a picture of you. I don't know, doing push-ups in the Coliseum or something. I don't know. Something where you're taking them a part of your journey, having fun, that personal connection, but also
Yep.
you're like reminding them that, hey, I'm going to be back and we've got some work to do. That's cool, man.
Yeah. That's like, I mean, like this week I have my barbell club and we're gonna be going for their 2 and 3 rep max for deadlift. And this is after 9 weeks of drilling in barbell work. This week I was doing deadlifts and scraped my shins, got a little blood on my socks. So I sent a picture to them, that I think you saw on my Instagram maybe. But I sent them the photo and said, guys, this is how close I want to see those barbells this Saturday. And like everybody's responding, like, oh hell yeah, like, oh, what happened? And just creating just like that little journey touch point. It shows that you're human too, and that you kind of make it feel like they're at home. You create that community. But that's with like multiple people, but you can still create a community or as you call a personal relationship, personal trainers with that clientele by just having that touch point as well. Like maybe you just like talk to some person about how I'm going to New Orleans and like, oh, I've never been there before. Maybe I'll take a picture of the sign and be like, I'm on this street. Like, have you been here before? Or this restaurant or this food. It's really delicious. Or, oh man, I'm not really tracking my calories today.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I'll
like
just
little
make it.
things you can do with that. Like I'll send a lot of like my clients pictures of me like going to the gym, like when I'm traveling. Like, hey, just a reminder while you guys are traveling, like we can still get it in. Like I'm finding a way to do it. And then like
Oh
I'll
yeah.
send them a picture afterward of me like at some cabana, drinking back some like Mai Tai, going like, and then we have the balance because I'm human. Like, yeah, different strokes, different folks.
We should literally have like a trainer like montage, like when we're when we get out there, is to get some tripods, have a little video of us like in a workout room, like when 3 trainers go on vacation together. It's just like us like
Just
going getting off the plane and then just going straight into the gym.
we're going straight into a bar, homie. We're seeing kickoff. Let's
Ah,
go.
that's true. That's true. All right, so we have like the vacation set hold. Like, how do you kind of like manage that aspect? Did you want to talk about the other touch point I kind of mentioned earlier was the idea of like what happens when you're leaving? Like if you're
We
just
can
not
dive into that kind of at a later date because I want to do a whole
okay.
kind of like look through on how to navigate things as a trainer in that one because that's a big topic and a
Yeah, that's
really
what
really tough one.
yeah, that's a tough one. But outside of the relationship, I mean, setting up for the clients, making sure that yeah, you have enough resources. Um, the workouts, expectations set for those workouts is
That's huge.
check it check-ins after I return is, what happens after your vacation would be kind of like the topic, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
That'd be the next thing.
my thought with that is because there's two scenarios we're essentially talking about here, right? Like one's
Yeah,
my scenario, which is always on, like that element of like, hey, I'm traveling, but I'm still on. You're still working. And the other
right.
scenario is I want to go to Tahiti and like don't like just leave me alone. I just want to go sit on the beach and like have someone drop like grapes in my mouth or something. Um and it's an image, isn't it?
Yeah, I just know for you, it's definitely the server guy who's definitely spitting them off as he puts. I got it.
All right, let's both be on the same page. If I'm in Tahiti getting grapes dropped in my mouth, it is not a man.
Yeah, right. His name's Ronaldo.
No, it's one of those sexually ambiguous names that you don't really know what it is.
It's probably yeah.
It's like Casey. You're like, is that a guy or a girl? I can't tell. Hmm.
I feel like maybe it's the bartender who's like, "Yeah, this martini is missing an olive," and by the time you say olive, he's flung it 20 feet across the bar with like a whisk straight, right hand to your cup, and he just looks at you, and you're just like, "That was pretty sure. That was pretty smooth."
Oh my God. I'm gonna go to
The things that
Mexico
go in
with
my
you
head.
and get you a guy named Raul or some shit or Jesus.
He'll be my favorite person ever. We'll be travel buddies forever.
Oh, there you go.
Great friendships.
Well, all right, let's take it to how do you train your clients? Let's just say let's do a scenario here. Because I always think like teaching through practical examples is usually the best way to go about it.
Hmm.
Um, the online always being present, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But diving into, let's say you want to be gone for 2 weeks. Like let's say in June you decided you want to go to Spain with a certain somebody and like, go rolling around the Spanish coast. You
Yeah, you
know,
might be talking me into it.
I'm gonna get you
Right.
there. It's gonna happen
Yeah, it's probably true.
slowly. It's gonna whittle away
I
at you.
mean, that'd be awesome. Honestly, June is kind of like a dead month anyways. Everybody knows that. Everybody goes on vacations in June. Yeah.
And it's this guy's
All right.
birthday.
Yay! You're turning what? 44? 45.
32. You're gonna be in your 30s one of these days.
Stop that. Stop that. It's less than 3 months away, and I'm not excited. Um, Actually, I am. I found myself pretty well, and I hear the 30s are pretty amazing.
Dude,
So,
it's fucking awesome. Like
yeah,
I had a little anxiety going into it, and then, like literally right when I got into it, I was like, "Oh my God, I think this is actually pretty dope." Like
this is
I'm there for it.
nice. I stepped on a scale this morning, and I was fully clothed and had ate. So, not true. But you know what it said? 201 pounds. And I was like, oh, you know, it was nice to see those numbers. Like even just I had the clothes on, but to see that I
Take
had
it.
broken 200, I know. Well, yes, that's the true weight. But to see that, it gave me like okay, you're almost there. Like I'm almost the 200-pound club. I'm trying to get up there.
I feel like that's the equivalent of like benching 315 for the first time, but it's like
Yeah.
bouncing it off your chest and going like, "Yeah, I got it." Yeah. Or like having like a spotter come at like the very end to help you out. It's like, "Oh, that was all you." No, it wasn't.
Yeah. It just reminds me of this time I had my cousin I train with in the morning. Sometimes I went to the gym and I called him over. I was like, hey, can you help spot me? And it was 205. It wasn't 225. 225 is kind of like, that's my next thing is to be able to hit that 5 times. But it was 205. I was like, I just need some help. And because he struggles at 185 and me and him compete. So he goes and gets behind me. I was like, ah. Yeah, you thought I needed help with this, didn't you? He just starts, he's like, oh, you bitch. I was just like, you're so tiny, you're so small. And just like bracked it. And then in my head, like immediately afterwards, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't 225 though. Like that'd be fun. But
I got you. But taking it back to our topic, we're
I know
going
I
for
like
two
to get
weeks.
off
We're going to
topic.
be gone, totally pieced out.
Yeah.
How do we set our clients up for best success? And let's take the technology out of it. Let's just say there's no online coaching. That's not a part of it. It's more traditional, and there are more trainers who have more of a lower tech option or offering.
Yeah.
So I want to think about it in terms of that. So a solution for the majority of trainers. How do we
Yeah.
set a client up for success with that?
I would still go through the same process I kind of went through.
Mhm.
Here's the one other thing though. I would drill in two workouts that they would do for the 2 weeks prior to that. And it would be the same, like if it was a twice a week client, we're gonna do this workout on Monday and Wednesday, and then you're gonna practice Monday's workout on your own. Based on their goals. It's hard, it's different for somebody like my guy who's trying to learn how to do like a barbell who needs flexibility and mobility. It'd be like, hey, this is we're gonna go through these mobility exercises. Here's gonna be a couple practice moves. You're gonna go into this for the 2 week cycle is the drill Wednesday, do the same thing Monday, Wednesday. So they've done it twice. Record them. This is what I've been doing too, is record them on their own device on their phone. And then I have them with those recordings they look back to. So that way they've actually heard my cues because
I
I'll
like that.
I'll cue it as I'm talking them through it. So not only they're watching their body move, because it's kind of easier to see ourselves and see where we're at fault than watching somebody do it with perfect form and trying to emulate that. You can see kind of like, oh man, my back does look rounded. Okay, so that's what he was talking about when he said bring my shoulder blades back. And then, okay. So that way they can see what they're already needing to work on and hear my voice cueing them. And they've done the movements twice. So that way when they come and they have the 2 weeks off, be like, hey, you're going to do the same workout we did on Monday, the same workout on Wednesday, and just cycle it for the next week. And we'll change it up the week I'm back and just see where you've improved and see where you're at.
Dude, I really like
Yeah.
that. I don't do that. Like I take a lot of videos of my clients, and like we'll do a lift, and I'll show them the video, and I'll break it down for them there, and it's a great coaching tool to show someone a reflection of themselves. But
Yeah.
taking that step further to where it's, hey, not only are you taking a video of them, you're coaching them as you're doing that. And now they have that resource because that's what it is. You're creating a personalized coaching resource for queuing for an
Yeah.
individual client. That's really cool
Yeah.
because it doesn't take any extra time and it's a massive value add. Dude,
Yeah.
top notch. Seriously,
And
that's a
I
good
do.
idea.
The other thing is, yes, it could be a resource I could use and use it as kind of like, advertising and putting on my social media, but I don't do a lot of that anyways.
No.
As I record it on their phone,
Yeah.
so they know, so they have it in their album. So they have it in there versus having to scroll down to our text messages, wondering which one it is. They'll just see like, here's the 8 movements we went through stacked into their photo album. And it's like, hey, you go step by step. And all it is just taking one of the sets, a few of the reps, get the cues, and then you can put down their phone and cue them through the rest of the exercise. And you know that they've seen it. Now they can rewatch that 8 times.
I like that a lot. It's it's a tool that again, like I'm really I'm maybe like downplaying this a little bit. Like that's a really really good tool. Like I'm gonna start using that. That's really awesome. But it is one
Okay.
of those things that even when people see themselves, people just don't know how to move their body. You tell someone to, hey, pull your shoulders back, and they'll, like
Yeah.
shrug it up and do this massive movement, and you're like, that's not exactly what I was going for there. And I do think, and again, like I don't do this yet, but I do think if you were giving someone that video, there would probably still be a little bit of a disconnect. I mean, have you found that at all, or I mean, what are your thoughts?
Um,
That's just my
I
initial knee-jerk reaction.
so I can give an example. So I've one gal who I've been training for a while, and I've done these videos with her, and I've sent it to her because I'll record actually on my phone. Most of the time, she doesn't like to bring her phone on the floor. She doesn't want to lose it. So I record it and I send it to her, and then she does her workouts on her own. She's also a workout junkie. She cycles, an hour a day, works out with me, does Pilates, and it's just she's an overgoer. But when she does the workouts, she says how grateful it is to when she's doing it, something feels off that she can go back and watch these little short, 10-second clips and listen to my cues. She'd be like, you reminded me about this when I was doing this movement, and I was trying to think what you had said. And then I watched the video and I heard you saying it, so I've done it. So I've actually seen it work. I can't say it works for everybody. Not everybody's going to pull up that video right then and there, but for the I've had it with a few people actually work.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't asked those follow-up questions. That'd be something to know. But most of the results I've gotten is people have liked it, or they have told me that they've done the exercise on their own and how helpful it was to hear me cue them again through the videos.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing resource, an amazing thing to do. We'll definitely start implementing that kind of on our side. So appreciate that, bud. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I can see that being an incredibly beneficial thing for a lot of people because that's probably one of the biggest things of feedback that I get is, I mean, you're always coaching through repetition, right? You're saying the same thing 20 times, 20 different ways to try to get it to stick with somebody because there's going to be one of those 20 that is an aha moment. And
Yeah.
you get those where it's like, hey, I heard you in my mind. I was going to grab that beer or that cookie or what have you. And I just heard you kind of saying something like, I've heard that back from my clients so many times. And I have to imagine that same general concept through teaching through repetition, probably through teaching through cueing with a visual cue like personal video. I think probably not 20 times, but if you did that 3 or 4 times with the same person, the same lift, I just think that would get someone so far so quickly.
Yeah.
That's a huge value add.
Yeah. Oh, I like it too. Because I do it not only when I'm traveling, I do it on sometimes like when somebody's doing like a new movement. I like to kind of just do it with their phones if they're comfortable doing it. Um, not to take away from what they're doing, but to show them how they've improved too. So I can say like, hey, you remember that video that we did? Go ahead and pull that up. They'll pull it up. Be like, see like where your shoulders were here. Now pull up the new one. What's changed? And I have them kind of answer the Q&A and just go like, oh wow, are we doing more weight? Yeah. Like I can show you on the sheet too. Here's the result. Like you've gone up 15 pounds in the amount of you able to pull down or something like that. And they're just like, I've been feeling that. Just it's so great kind of like seeing it. Like so
Have you ever done that
the more
with
evidence you can provide, the better.
yeah. Have you ever done something similar with this with things like posture or mobility? Because that's something I've used pretty heavily, but again, I don't take it on their phone. I think that's just such a cool idea.
Yeah. Here's something fun. So I mean I'm not with the recording, but I have my 80-year-old guy I work with who we have this machine that lifts your leg up and it gives a number to the side that
Oh,
shows your flexibility, right?
do we
So
have one of those at Lifetime?
I think so, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. It pulls your toe and then you lift your leg.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
had this number. And I had him do it like 3 weeks ago. And I was like, man, you're looking pretty stiff. And I looked over at the number and I wrote it down. He goes, it'd be great if we knew what we were before. And I was like, oh, well, it's right here. 3 weeks ago, you were at 67. Right now, you're at 63. And he's like trying to like yank it up. I was like, no, 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 you're stressed out. Don't try to beat that number. I just want to show you like you haven't been stretching at home. You're lying to me.
Have you ever, yeah, we'll say ever. Have you ever completely just blown a client away with like your notes? Like this is a sheer level of like
Oh,
I record everything. Like taking back to like what you and
yeah.
I were initially talking about with like me examining fecal matter, which I do not do. We're gonna preface it with that. I don't do that. But I'm
Yeah.
incredibly OCD in the sense of like I'm very meticulous with how I go about data collection and making sure that what we're doing is documented so we can track it.
Yeah.
But have you ever just completely just floored a client by going, oh, let me go back 3 years and like have a specific number that applies to something. Like, have you ever had anything like
Uh,
that?
I mean, not because before, I mean, before I became myself who I am now today, when I was training before, I mean, my addiction to alcohol and
Hmm.
my ability to kind of like really apply myself into this passion was just it was so predominant that I'd never really cared as deeply into the training atmosphere. My client folders were non-existent. I was scrambling to make workouts the day of. Like I was coming in with no plan. Like I was a really good athletic trainer in the sense like I've always been, very good at like on the spot being able to bring somebody through a workout and yeah, I'll kill them, but I didn't have the progression sheets. I didn't have that knowledge. But in the 4 months that I've been doing this job, I've had, this one gal who's training with me twice a week who I've graduated. And I told her we're going down to once a week. She's like, what? Like almost scared. I'm like, yeah, your goal was so that you could do the Ignite classes, these weightlifting classes. You're ready. She's like, I don't think I am. I'm like, you are. And I've shown her like, hey, like this is where we started. And I had a photo of like her first squat and a video on her phone. I said to pull up and I said, remember the video that we took a long time ago, back in like November? Go ahead and pull that up. And it's like her squatting, her legs slowly bending. I'm like, what did we do today? She goes, we squatted with a that thing around what's that thing? And I was like, the waist, the hip band. She's like, yeah, we squatted with that kettlebell. And I was like, yeah, that was a 12-kilogram kettlebell. It's almost 25 pounds. And you're getting below to parallel comfortably and holding for 3 seconds with a firm, steady stance, balanced, and doing that for
She can
multiple
weight lift.
sets.
Yeah.
So, she's like 70 years old. So she's like, she's well done and she's ready to go on. So I'm like, that's why I'm dropping you down. But yeah, you got to have that evidence to show them because they sometimes are scared or don't think that they've come as far as they have. So
Well, that, and I think a lot of times clients, it's their job to focus on the now. It's our job to focus on everything on the field. Like, we don't
yeah,
care how one play went. We care about how the totality of the game went. Their job is to
right.
focus on, hey, just do that one play correctly. So I think keeping detailed notes in that regard, because clients don't, they're always just focused on they have a bad workout. They feel like they're not making any progress. It's like, no, you had one bad workout. You made progress every day for the last like 4 months. Like, what are you talking about? And I think having those type of detailed notes is very important. But I was just curious of whether you had an instance where you just completely just blew someone's mind about like, no, no, no. I know exactly where you were 2 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
we were benching 215 and now we're benching 275. Like, I know exactly what has happened.
I haven't had that. No, but I will tell you, I've met my match with one client. She brings her own folder with our printed out workout sheets and a pen and makes notes as we're doing the workout. I'm like, you know, I almost feel like I don't need to bring my own folder, but I'm gonna still do it to write my notes in here. But you got me pretty beat. And she'll stop and she'll be like, hold on, I'm gonna write that down. I'm like, wow. All right.
I will say this, there's nothing I've ever seen in my life that's more unprofessional looking for no reason than a trainer training a client where he doesn't have anything. Doesn't have like a
Oh,
folder, even a crumpled up piece of paper, something. Even if that trainer is like, hey, this is our first session, I'm just trying to get a feel for you, and we're just learning each other, and we're just like building rapport. That person walking
yeah.
around without anything in their hands, oh my God, that just
Yeah.
looks so bad to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of the culture that's around at my facility. And there's a reason why I'm in the top 75 of the entire company in training in my first 4 months. And I've beaten out two trainers that have been there for over 10 years. So there's a reason I'm ahead of them. I'm not going to brag about those numbers. They work part-time sometimes and they've dropped down their numbers, but they've really let down on the throttle. And I see it. I'm like, dude, I can never get there.
I think people a lot of times don't realize how very simple things lead to great success when applied consistently for time. Like things like
Yeah.
taking notes, having a setting in client expectations when you first like start working with somebody. um, taking those progress photos periodically that they don't like, or showing up not on time, but like 4 or 5 minutes early. Like just be waiting for that person, even if it is just a handful of minutes earlier. Little things
Yeah.
like that, I do think short term have very little impact. Long term are the difference between you being just a trainer kind of showing up. Maybe you're making $7,000, $8,000 a month. You're doing all right versus that or the $20,000 a month guy where it's like, no, you're living a high quality life. I think that difference
Yeah.
between those two is very, very, very simple things applied well.
Hey
So I
man,
think you're onto a great place.
I closed 47 sessions in January, and I
Oh
mean,
boy,
yeah, it was okay. That's technically month three. I started like the end of October, early November. So month
that's
three.
not bad
And
though,
going in, my goal is by month six is to be closing an average of 90. So
dude. You had 100
9,200.
sessions in a month. You're good. Like
Yeah.
that was always my thing at Lifetime was always like I just need to have 100. As long as I have that, anything I get more than that is kind of copacetic. But I think that's
Yeah.
the perfect amount to where you can either decide to really double down and grow that to wherever you want to grow it to, or go, hey, that's covered. My cost of living and everything is sorted. Let me go focus on my other projects now. That's
Yeah.
cool, man.
I mean,
I'm proud of
if you
you.
have the mental capacity and the time, I mean, 100 client or 100 hour or 100 clients or
Oh,
100 sessions closing a month. I mean, you're grinding, boy.
I mean, you think about it, that's 25 sessions. I mean, shit. No, that's 22 sessions a week for your average
20
month.
for the
That's
average
not
month.
that's not that much. I mean, when you really think about it, like
Yeah.
22 hours, and then you have, of course, your admin and travel time and things like that on top of it. But like you're maybe working, God, 27, 28, maybe 30 hours in a week.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. It's not hours like when I was back at laboring and working construction where it's like, hey, you work the hour and yeah, you're working, you're doing your projects, you're moving on. You have to be a person who's focused with energy, a plan, and motivated and drive, and you have to be consistent. And by the end of the day, after you've given it your all, to go home and just be like, I'm not doing that laundry.
I feel
Like,
personally attacked by that right now because I have 2 loads of laundry sitting on my bed. I've
yeah,
had opportunities today to fold that, and I just keep putting it off.
yeah. You look at it like I just don't have the energy for you.
Oh no, it's not even that. I literally just walk into my room, look at it, and go, "Ugh."
Yeah,
Later.
yeah. I'm gonna play some chess on my phone.
I
Wind
mean,
down.
pretty much, chess or French.
All right, man.
All right. So I want to have kind of a detailed plan for the 2 week thing before we close it out.
All right.
But my thought is if you're more of a, I don't want to say average trainer, I feel like I overuse that, but like if you're somebody that you work in a facility, you're more going the traditional route with things, the pen and paper, you have sheets, you're keeping a detailed workout log, that sort of deal. And you're going away for 2 weeks, my thought is you set the expectation of what you want from your clients, whether that's building workouts, then drilling them and doing like the video idea, which again, I love that so much, and making sure they have those resources available to them to be able to go do what you would do for them essentially, or at least bridge some of that gap that's going to come from you not being there. That's kind of my thought with it. And another one I've played around with in the past is being gone and going, hey, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. I want you to go to these classes. I want you to go do yoga
Mm,
here, spin there, go to this kickboxing class. Little things
yeah.
that, all right, they're not going to get in the way of what we're working on. It's not going to mess up movement patterns, more than likely. And it'll give that person a little bit more experience moving in different ways, which is, I mean, that's dynamic movement. is getting
Hmm.
used to moving in ways that aren't your standard movement patterns and creating that.
Yeah.
And I found a lot of benefit from kind of letting them venture outside of my teachings and then coming back with that experience. Have you tried something like
Yeah.
that?
I truly, I haven't. I don't really. I guess maybe I'd be a little bit too afraid that somebody would go do that and be like, "Oh man, I had a lot of fun. Like maybe we can just go down to once a week."
I've had
That's
that happen.
probably that's that would be the fear is that they would get comfortable with something like that and knowing full outright like that's not going to help them reach where they're trying to get to, and they're not going to be able to be held accountable for doing that. It's like you're going to go to that class, and guess what? Next week you didn't sign up for it. Well, I guess I won't go. And now you missed that week.
Well, let's put it this way, because I know you're, and I know we're kind of over an hour at this point, but um, you like group fitness is one of your little passion projects. That's something that you're kind of leaning heavily into right now with F45 and your barbell clubs and things like that.
Hmm.
So you're kind of in a unique place where you are on both sides. And
Yeah.
I've definitely had that where I've referenced somebody out to go do a class for a little while I'm gone, and then you come back and that person's like, "Hey, I had a lot of fun doing that. Why do I need you?" It's like, all right, it's not just about having fun. Like we got to actually make progress.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, how do you navigate that with being someone where all right, I don't want to refer people out because what if they don't want to come back or they just, decide to kind of like, squirrel, get distracted and kind of move on and
Yeah.
being somebody that advocates for group fitness. And I'm kind of setting you up for either failure or like success right now. So I do apologize about that, but like, what are your thoughts there?
The people that come for the personal training aspect, they come because they want to move better. They have a specific like ideal of what their body is doing or they what they want as an outcome. Group fitness people are most of the time, not always, people who don't want to spend money for training. They want the benefits of, working out, but they don't have the money or they don't want to spend the money. They don't see the tool, the use of it because they're like trainers. We have egos. We don't want to be told what to do. It's hard for us to take help from another person.
So
So,
hard.
yeah, it's hard. And the clients that typically most of my clients that I have, they have anxiety of working in groups. That's why they want that one-on-one, that really in person where they can be really specifically looked at. And it gets lost in the group training aspect because like I teach TRX hit class too outside F45. F45 is great because you get to move around the room and spot people. The workouts are on the videos, it's on the front. We show how to do the exercises. And then I get a correct form and touch so many people throughout the room in correct form. I'm the one TRX hit instructor, and I can't go through.
Oh, sorry. I was giving you your TRX queuing cards for marketing. Sorry. Keep going.
Oh, well, yeah, my TRX hit classes that I
I'm
run.
just being an
Like
ass.
I just don't have time, when people are going through and it's like, hey, we're 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, to be able to watch the timer, maybe talk to one person and to see the rest of the room. And if I have somebody who's like, hey, they came to me initially because they had a shoulder injury, we're 6 weeks out of that, they've been doing really well. They go to a class and all of a sudden they feel pressured because the instructor's like, okay, we're going to do overhead squats, dumbbells up here just like this, and they show the wrong form. That person looks at them, they got the person next to them who's doing it, they grab the wrong weight. Now they're overhead in a position where all of a sudden the shoulder's like out of position. They come back to me and they're like, I kind of tweaked my shoulder, or they've learned that movement and now they're doing it on their own with when I'm not watching them. And I don't know that. And they're like, oh, well, I learned in this class. I did it. It was really fun. We did this. I'm like, no, stop.
I get that. I like how
Yeah.
you're choosing like a different classification of both. And like I've taught group fitness, but that was never where my heart was. I always looked at it as like inferior method of training, which I don't necessarily agree with now, but it's kind of an interesting take on that. To where you're really just breaking it down to brass tacks, which is, hey, someone that's going to group fitness, They're either there because they want to have a community, have some fun, get a workout in. Maybe they lose a little bit of weight, maybe they get in a little bit of better shape, but the outcome isn't as much of a priority as, hey, I know I need to do this and I need something fun to get me to go do it. And I'm accepting either a subpar outcome or something where it's, hey, I may never get to where I really ever want to go, but this is all I can invest to this. And I know I need help, but this is just what it is.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, there's two different styles though. Like the F45, like they run challenges where you pay a little extra money, like $35, and the trainer they you get to meet with one of the coaches. They have you do an in-body scan. They keep you accountable. They put you part of the community, weigh in. So there's other ways the F45 does it versus like the gym setting where it's like, hey, you're showing up to this person's Zumba class and you're in there. Okay, great. They're not tracking where your body weight is. They don't care about what your movement pattern is. You're there to have fun. You're doing it. Versus my small group training classes, which is like, hey, this is 3 to 6 people. I'm stopping them. We're huddling together like a little small team. I'm talking to them. We then set in position. We're going through the movement slowly. It's really isolated. That's kind of like personal training with multiple people at the same time.
Okay.
So
That
there's
difference in
there's there's
classifications. Yeah.
3 different types of the group training atmosphere, I would say. Is I'm seeing all three.
So
So
three as in, so like for me
small
and
group,
my,
the classification of just a gym, regular class, people sign up, they go, teachers don't care who shows up, just hope their class is filled. And then 3 would be like, a specific type of Orange Theory, F45, or, things that it's like, hey, you're going here, you're creating that community, but this is kind of like you're paying 200 and something dollars. It is kind of like a small group atmosphere, but with more people, CrossFit, and it's specific unit for a goal outcome of like, hey, this is group fitness at a larger extent, but you're getting to know your coaches pretty well.
okay. I get that, and that makes sense to how my brain works. I mean, I'm looking at it from just like a dollar amount status and projected outcomes. Like that's just how my mind works. But I'm looking
Yeah.
at it as, all right, group fitness. You walk in, you're doing in the gym group fitness. Like booty blaster class at 24-hour fitness. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
cheap option, very easy to get into. You don't need to test in. You just show up, and maybe you see that instructor next week. Maybe you never see them again.
Yeah.
There's none of that. But hey, it's getting you moving, and that's what you can afford right now. And you need help, and you'll make progress, but it's going to be slow and sporadic, and that's okay because that's what we have.
Yeah.
Then we have partner training, more, well, let's say like the F45, Orange Theory, CrossFit box, where all right, slightly higher dollar amount investment. You're paying 200, 300, 400, $500 in some cases to train in this group setting with people where yes, there's a much higher level of accountability. We have group class, we have metrics that we're testing
Challenges.
by a standard SOP, things of that nature. And essentially it costs a little more. Your outcome's a little bit more guaranteed. You're more likely to make progress and in a much more efficient period of time. And we get small group training, which again, we narrow the class size down even further. And you're working with 3 to 6 people, a significantly higher cost investment to work with. I mean, you think
Hmm.
about it, it might be that you're spending that might be cumulatively like $800 or $900 a month thing for somebody to be a part of,
Could be.
which is not too far off from like what an in-person personal training cost point would be.
Yeah.
Which to me, that's always going to be the Cadillac. The nicest version or the best version is one-on-one personal training. And again, in just in how my mind works to kind of codify or put a objective numeric value to things,
Yeah.
is that personal training would be the highest value thing. I know it's not a one size fits all and not a everyone's going to be the most successful at every level the same, right? But that
Yeah.
would be how I would think about it. I mean, what are your thoughts? Yeah,
On the nose.
Roger Dodger. All right. I think we got an idea of what it is, which is setting expectations for clients, making sure that we're having resources available and really it sounds like it has to be a little bit of a case by case basis based on not so much the person in front of you, but by the type of training model that you're bringing into it. Would that be would you agree with that as far as like working with people and being away from their clients?
I would agree.
All right. Well, guys, this has been a fantastic episode. This is a fun topic. I enjoy kind of like doing these thought experiments. Tyler definitely opened my eyes a little bit with that video queuing. I think that's really cool. Um, but
You're
yeah,
welcome.
guys, we'll catch you guys in the next one. We appreciate you. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Wink.
You still gotta say cheers. Do it. Do it.
I love you guys. Cheers.